Hi CLC, I hope you are all well. As we go through this week of prayer and fasting, I have been asked to share a few words with you. And my devotional thought for today's prayer and fasting is to focus on spiritual rebuilding and strengthening. In order to draw on this, I wanted to particularly focus on the prophecy that was shared during Sunday's gathered church service. The word that gripped me was commitment, and this word commitment was repeated a number of times in that prophecy. And since Adam was speaking on that Sunday on Mary, my thoughts immediately turned to Mary and her situation. Mary was committed to the will of God. And this is evident in the words that she utters in the Gospel of Luke chapter 1 and verse 38, where she said, "Behold, the maid servant of the Lord, let it be to me according to your word." I became aware of the lack of commitment that is in my own life. It is my prayer that through this time of prayer and fasting, we will step back and focus on how committed we really are to the Lord. How often we say to people that we would pray for them and we just forget all about it. Or that we will do something for them and we just pay lip service instead of doing the deed. The second thought that came to me was regarding the cost of commitment. For Mary, it meant that whole lifestyle and future were about to change. Perhaps like any young girl, she would have made her own plans about her marriage, her big day, what she was going to wear, what she was going to do, and she would have made other plans in her life. But in order for God's plan to be fulfilled in her life, to become the mother of the Messiah, she had to put all those plans to one side, so that God's plan and purposes might be fulfilled in her life. So there is a cost to commitment. But Mary was willing to forsake all her desires and all of whatever she had planned for her married life and put it to one side, so that the plan of God might be fulfilled in her life. And the other cost that she would have had to bear was what people would say of a virgin getting pregnant. Living in a small community that she was at the time, people would have said all manner of things against her. Even her own fiancé, Joseph, was thinking of putting her away. So we can just imagine from that what other people would have said and how society would have looked down upon her. But yet she was willing to commit to the plan of God for her life at all the cost, whatever that might entail. Due to Mary's commitment and willingness to pay the cost, a great change was about to take place. God was about to take on human flesh and dwell among mankind. God would not only change them, but the whole world would be changed. As we read in the well-known verse in John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. So we do thank God for the willingness of Mary, for her commitment, and she was prepared for the cost, whatever that was involved in that commitment, in order that great change might take place. In this time of prayer and fasting, we need to look at our own commitment or lack of it. Are we just committed in word? Or are we also committed in deed? I have been reminded of the need to renew my commitment and realize that there is a cost. If I want to change in myself and around me, I need to be more committed to God. I need to be more like Ruth and not like Orpah. As we read in the book of Ruth, the situation there with Naomi, that Naomi goes with her husband to the land of the Moabites with her husband and 2 sons, but in process of time, she loses her husband and both her sons. And both her sons who had married women of that land, Ruth and Orpah, they also become widows. And Naomi then decides that she will go back to her own people, to her own land. And she says to her daughters to stay where they were with their people, as she goes back empty-handed. But we read in Ruth chapter 14 to 17 these words. And they lifted up their voices and wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And she said, look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. But this is what Ruth said. Entreat me not to leave you, or to turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me and more also, if anything but death parts you and me. Orpah was just going through the motions of going with Ruth. That was with Naomi, but there was no commitment on her part. But Ruth, on the other hand, was so committed that whatever came in life, she was not going to leave Naomi. Whatever the future might hold, whatever the cost might be, she was prepared to go with Naomi, and whatever came her way, she was quite happy to go with that. Are we like Ruth, or are we like Orpah? Just paying lip service. I know I have been in the place of Orpah. But I pray that as we go through this time of prayer and fasting, that I will become more like Ruth and be more committed to God and to His ways. That as He strengthens us, we will follow Him with all our hearts, fully committed, fully prepared to pay the cost that change might take place. So I would encourage you to think about your commitment to the Lord and resulting from that our commitment to our church family at CLC. I believe that as we commit to God and pay the price of that commitment, God will bring a change in us both individually, as a church family at CLC, and to the community that is around us. He will enable us to be spiritually rebuilt, and we will be able to draw strength from Him and from each other. As we are all aware, these past few years have been very hard, have been very difficult and challenging due to various circumstances around us, and particularly around COVID-19. Isaiah 40 and verse 31, this is what it reads in there. Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Let us focus on being rebuilt and strengthened, as well as being the very people who are able to build and strengthen one another through Christ, being the people that God wants us to be as a church family at CLC. That God will strengthen us, will bless us, and we will refocus our commitment, that like of Ruth, that God might indeed bring change because we are willing to be committed as a people and as a church to Him and are prepared to pay the cost, because we remember that ultimately for our salvation, God sent His Son, and that was the cost of our salvation, the cost of our forgiveness of sin. And we can do no less but commit to Him, pay the cost, and see the change in us, in our families, in our homes, in our church, in our community that we all want to see. May God bless you during this time of prayer and fasting. Amen.